Today we discuss the concept of a personal Sabbath, a day of rest and relaxation that can help you cultivate stillness and renew your heart on Soul Zero 2. And welcome to Soul Zero 2. This is the podcast that's putting the oxygen back into the Christian life one soul at a time. And have you ever felt a persistent sense of restlessness where no matter what you achieve, it doesn't seem sufficient? You're never satisfied with it. It's akin to exerting effort on a treadmill that expends your energy but leads nowhere. This is not unlike the famous figure Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to roll a stone uphill while only for it to roll back downhill for eternity. I mean, that's how he felt. It was like Groundhog Day plus a million. And so in the scriptures, the Israelites experienced this exact kind of futile unease under the whip of Pharaoh's oppressive system, which is typified in these words. And these are Pharaoh's words. You are no longer to supply the people with straw for making bricks. Let them go and gather their own straw. So what does the Bible say about bricks and straw? What do bricks and straw symbolize? Straw was readily available from their taskmasters, but with Pharaoh's edict, he commanded them to gather their own straw, and they were forced to function in an unnatural way. You know, naturally they got the straw, but the Pharaoh said, "No, you go get it yourself." So this was impossible. I mean, it would multiply their energy and time, untold. And we find that his commanding them to gather bricks without straw was humanly impossible. And this is how we feel sometimes when we're striving, when we're stuck in this cycle of it's never enough. So bricks without straw speaks of anti-creation. What do I mean by that? When something functions in a way that it was not created to function, that's anti-creation. It's against the way I was made, right? I believe that the bricks without straw figure is a picture of the unnatural, unrealistic way in which we move through this world. The Egyptians used clay from the river and combined it with straw for stability. And the problem was that without straw, the clay was weak, kind of like the old-fashioned plaster walls without the wire support, if you ever have seen those. Thus, the efforts became futile. And as they had to summon more energy and more time to gather straw by hand, making it a nearly impossible task. So this is what I mean by the world we live in, that we keep getting more deadlines and demands to do more with less time and less energy. And bricks without straw also typifies our modern culture that is based on endless striving in the pursuit of more while holding the eternal as less. In today's culture, work schedules can eclipse family, friends, spouses, and even our spiritual life. That's how it's designed. They don't care about your spiritual life, right? So it's not unlike the Israelites. We too have traded whips for impossible schedules and lashes for unrealistic demands. Today's Pharaoh's demands, they make these demands with harsh eyes. You can gain the whole world by doing more, spend more, consume more, right? And in a long head rush to accomplish, the Pharaoh system seems oblivious to what is at stake, our very souls. So another maybe picture of bricks without straw can be this idea that the bricks without straw metaphor also typifies determinism without God. It's a humanistic system. It's godless when you think about it. Because we were created for work. God made us for work, but not for striving. That's very different. From a secular perspective, bricks without straw symbolizes human perseverance despite adversity. And Albert Camus, he saw Sisyphus not as, the guy who rolled the stone up the hill, not as futilely rolling a stone uphill, but as defiantly doing so against hopelessness. And so it was a testament to the Ubermensch, to the Superman of we can do this, right? We're going to determine no matter what, even though it's hopeless and, no future, we're going to still do this. And this represents humanistic choice to persist and grow despite a seemingly pointless existence. But finding meaning and purpose in the struggle isn't enough. We must find God in it. Only God can ultimately give lasting meaning beyond our present struggles. And this is what I mean by I can be as determined as I want, but without God, what's the point? Because He's the only one who can give me hope. So another maybe picture of bricks without straw or meaning is it can also symbolize a necessary transition prompted by God's intervention. What do I mean by that? There's a positive side to bricks without straw. When the mother weans her infant off of milk, an uncomfortable transition occurs within the child from milk to solid food. Who wants that? That's boring, man. I want the milk. I don't want to have to work for it. Thus, none of us like change. However, change comes upon us whether we like it or not. So it was with the Israelites. Before God could take Israel out of Egypt, God had to begin the process of removing Egypt out of Israel. And thus Pharaoh's bricks without straw were the cattle prods of motivation to poise his people for a great transition from slavery to freedom. It's one thing to long for freedom, but do we have the capacity to embrace that freedom? And only God can build that into us by sometimes giving us negative motivations to get us uncomfortable in the comfortable bondage we've gotten used to. Some of us are stuck and comfortable in our stuckness. So what happens when we are stuck in this vicious cycle of more that is found in Pharaoh's system? That's a question I wanted to tackle also today. We end up with less on every level. Everywhere you look, so many people are exhausted and burned out because of the impossible tasks being laid on them by the world system of more, right? More is always better, right? So we have less time and are expected to produce more, less resources, but expected to pay more, and less rest, but expected to carry more. And the more always promises to satisfy. Inevitably, it leaves you barren, however, and burned out. The natural result in the relentless pursuit is one that makes you feel perpetually lazy and like an abject failure because you're not getting it done, you're not accomplishing enough. Or as Walter Brueggemann says it, and Walter Brueggemann really influenced this talk today. His writings are great. He said, "You count bricks in vain from your bed at night." In Pharaoh's demands, we become subtly disconnected from the way we were made and the way we relate to our loved ones and relate to people. And we exchange intimacy for more production. And in an effort to appease our loved ones with material things, because while working hard for you to get all this stuff, we make the impersonal chasm larger. And we end up being less intimate and less closer to those we love. Because we know that giving people stuff, that's not love. That's not real connection, right? So what's at the heart of all this? What's at the heart of this whole Pharaoh system? Could it be that what is at the core of our drivenness at times is not just a type A personality quirk, but something much deeper, something much older? The deeper part that makes us strive, I believe, has much to do with the fall, meaning the fall of humanity. The curse of earning things by the sweat of our brow. Before the fall, Adam and Eve, they worked hard. They worked the garden. That was part of their mandate, right? Work the garden, cultivate the garden. But there was no striving in it. There was hard work, but there was rest in it, and there was satisfaction in it. But now the story has changed because of sin and the fall. The lines between hard work and striving are now blurred. This line is one that's rooted in how we were created. And the other line is rooted in Pharaoh system. So one is natural and hard work without striving, but the Pharaoh system is a modern system that seeks to recreate us in our own energy and humanistic strength without God and with exhaustion and burnout. So I suggest today returning to the way we were created. How were we created? We were created to work hard, but with rest, with balance, with not striving. And, you may be hearing this and maybe this is resonating with you in your spirit. And maybe you may need to talk to somebody about it, a counselor, someone to help you work through it. But God's response to the dizzying pace we live in is to return to the way that we were made, a place where we work hard and expend our energy, but then we stop and we renew and we reflect and we rethink. And that's called what the Bible calls a Sabbath or Shabbat, right? Sabbath is a beautiful thing. I do my Sabbaths on Friday. That's where I relax. I catch up maybe on a couple of decent YouTube videos, and I try to do a couple of chores, a project here, project there, fix something, repair something, clean something, cook something. And so that's my Sabbath. That's how I rest, and I do it unto the Lord. Though a Sabbath is not demanded in the New Testament, as it was in the Old Testament, it is strongly suggested by Jesus' words when he said the Sabbath was made for man. In other words, he wasn't saying don't have the Sabbath. He was saying use it for yourself. Use it to renew and to regather yourself. And it underscores this reality that we need to return the way to the way we were created. We were created to work, but then on the seventh day, God rested. And that's his template for us. When you stop, you are telling time, you are not defining me. I'm not defined by seconds and minutes and hours and days and months and years. I was created for eternity. And what I do with my time somehow reflects the eternal. As Abraham Heschel has once said, he said poetically, the Sabbath is a celebration of the intersection between time and eternity. It shows a loving God reaching through eternity to touch us in time. This is what a Sabbath does in a sense. It says, look, rest today, tend your garden, do your hobby, take a walk, do something that renews you and gives you rest and reminds you that you were made for greater things than just work. You are not your job. You are not your career. You are the person God created you to be, and he has a mandate for your life. So we cannot avoid the pharaohs of this world and their demands, but we can see them as cattle prods to prioritize our energies towards the eternal. God uses the implacable pharaohs of this world not just to drive us out of Egypt's system, but to drive Egypt's system out of us and into his restful arms. Thus, Jesus said in Matthew 11:28 these beautiful words, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So if you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, and share it. Connect with us through our channels as we aim to grow this channel. And thank you, and see you next time. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.